Oh my gosh, 8 patients, 6 surgeries? This is freaking ridiculous.
Can I get pain meds?
Lauren, that call light's been on for 5 minutes.
My hip hurts. Finally, some time to chart.
Hey, Lauren, you need to go put a Foley in your patient in 2.
My hip hurts.
I
need payment. Alright, time to chart round 2.
Go blue, go blue.
Okay, how can I help?
She's still on board pulse. You'll be next on compression.
Okay.
We're going out of 20 minutes.
Okay, let me go.
Okay.
Bag alarming room! Oh, God! Oh.
Gosh, that code was crazy.
Oh, I'm so
I did
tired.
compressions for 20 minutes.
Ugh. Okay, today was awful. I have no words for how today was.
So, I don't understand how they think we can care for, 8 patients to ourselves.
We had
It's
so many
crazy.
patients.
I
It's not
couldn't even
safe.
get everything done.
I know, I feel like I was always running around late on meds, I was never getting things on time, and then I just kept getting yelled at because I wasn't on time with anything.
I had no help today.
Something has to change. I don't know what we need to do. Can we call a meeting?
Staff meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe with our leadership team?
Yeah, I
Really
feel like
good.
we should definitely get one of those rolling.
Alrighty, unit meeting.
Big issue. Let's do this.
Yes.
Hi, people.
Hi, thanks for all
Hey,
meeting. I know. So I just wanted to get everyone in here because I know we've been struggling with it, and I assume every other nurse on our floor has been struggling with it. How we're having so many patients each shift to ourselves, and how that's terrible. And I feel like I'm not doing the best job that I can. So I thought maybe we all come together, we can figure out what we need to do about it, or get everyone's input.
Right, I like that.
Well, I agree. And if we're serious about making change, I've got a suggestion. Because we're going to need to change management's mind. And we need to go to them with a plan.
Yeah.
So, what I'm going to suggest is a tool that's been used by a lot of other management people to make organized, effective change. It's called a cause and effect diagram. And in our case, before we even get to the analysis, we have to figure out who we want on our investigation team.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that we find a facilitator, somebody who's gone through this process before, just to keep this thing on track and organized. So that's one. I'm also going to suggest that we need some people with experience, a staff nurse familiar with our existing work environment, maybe a nurse manager from another wing who's familiar with the process but not directly involved.
Yeah.
Maybe a hospitalist, some physician who's familiar with the patients we work with and their care requirements. And an outside leadership nurse, because they spend a lot of time with management processes. And that's really what we're after, is changing protocols and processes. I'm also going to suggest, if you agree, that we also bring on maybe a former patient or one of the family members to give us a more patient-centered perspective on this. Maybe they've got, that's what they call fresh eyes. Someone from the outside that can look at what's going on and say, why are we doing this? Why aren't we doing something else? Maybe someone outside our profession, a therapist, who also has fresh eyes, but they recognize the value of protocols and processes, who can also ask those same questions. Why are we doing it this way? Why aren't we doing it a different way? Now, Are you familiar with this cause and effect discussion? Okay, so it's really a way of starting with the target, the effect that you're after, in which case I believe ours is changing the nurse to patient ratio with a new policy. Are we all agreed on that?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a really good idea. I mean, research shows higher staffing ratios and stuff are related to reduced mortality. I think just having more people on the floor in general would be really beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only issue is kind of leads to a decrease in flexibility, and I think we should focus more on acuity to measure the amount of patients we have instead of saying, oh, we each only get 4 patients. Like, we gotta kind of see if one's really critical, maybe they need to be a 1-to-1 patient.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I agree with you. Patient acuity is a major thing that we need to measure in order to practice safely for our nurses and also to provide safe patient care for our patients. So in regard to nurse-patient ratios, it's not a matter of cutting budgets anywhere. Hospitals are needing more and more resources, whether that be us as nurses, physicians, lab techs, all these things, because of the rising acuity of patients. As we've seen in this hospital, the patients have had more and more comorbidities with their disease processes. Patients not only have the disease process that sends them to our floor, some of them also come with heart problems like hypertension, AFib, CAD, and heart failure. In addition, they also come with mental illnesses. These disease processes increase the variability of care and therefore increase the amount of time nurses spend with patients. However, many floors, like our floor, they don't recognize that need. The idea that hospitals are governed by is this: nurses are expected to take care of patients for the disease process that they are admitted for, regardless of other comorbidities, as mentioned. This is most typical of our floor, which in past times have traditionally had a stable and predictable nursing pattern. Our patients have had this. Now, what do I mean when hospitals are governed by the definition of the disease process? Quote, all nursing costs are treated as a lump sum and an average and standardized per patient day. Since direct nursing care hours and costs are highly correlated, this accounting approach implies that all patients within either the routine or intensive cost centers receive the same level of nursing care, end quote. These cares are separated into diagnostic-related groupings, or DRGs. Now, DRGs is how Medicare bills the patients and how we're receiving funds.
So if the billing system were to change to one not based on a set diagnosis for each patient, but also to base it off an idea called nursing intensity, which would bill not just a specified set of cares for a set time, but also the number of hours that a nurse spends with a unique patient. In order to do this, it would require the system to unbundle the various sets of DRGs so that the amount of time nurses spent with the unique patients are reflected.
And so now Kelly is going to talk about how we can do that along with other interventions that we can do for our hospital.
So basically to really get to the root of the problem, we need to come up with some kind of policy to create ratios for patients based off of acuity, and so that would be up to going to policymakers to acquire these. And you can also look to see what other states have done, not only on the hospital level but on the state level. You could look into creating some kind of statewide policy on the max number of patients. A lot of research that I found was based off of, in California, they have a max nurse to patient ratio policy, and in that state their nurse burnout rate is a lot lower than other states that don't have that policy in place. So that'd be something else to look into. But I feel like right now for us at this hospital, it would be looking at patient acuity and really coming up with a policy for those nurses to have a plan to have a max number of patients, and when that's met, then having other nurses on a resource pool to come in and help with that gap that there would be, so you don't have a nurse that has 8 patients, that would be lower and more manageable for them.
All right, everyone, I really appreciate all your thoughts on this and all your hard work. What it sounds like to me is that we want to try to mandate ratios based on acuity. So I'm going to take all this information that we've gathered and take it to policy, and we'll kind of get the ball rolling from there. Thank you guys for coming.